Thank you all for coming to tonight's Learning Lab. We're grateful to have you here and share this time together and learn from all the shared wisdom in this room. Like the Bay, we're all connected. So again, thanks for being here. As we begin, and we're waiting for a few more folks to arrive, please open that Learning Lab link that I just put in the chat. It will just help improve our program and give us ideas for future topics. So we greatly appreciate your thoughts. My name is Sarah. I'm one of Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake's Outreach and Program Coordinators. And as we get started, we're going to begin with a very short tech orientation on the next slide, just to ensure a pleasant experience for tonight's program. First, we ask that you keep yourself muted during this presentation. If you need help, the chat feature is there and you can use to ask any question during the presentation. We will have Q&A held at the end of this program. So please feel free to either put it in the chat or wait till the end. And as a last reminder, this session is being recorded. So if you do not wish to have your face shown during tonight's program, please feel free to turn off your camera. Next, you'll see a lovely staff photo. And this one was taken recently. I'm in the front row in the black with the Rubik's Cube on my shirt. And for those who are unfamiliar with my work, please reach out to me if you find yourself in the Montgomery, Prince George's County, Frederick, and DC area. I help with outreach in those regions. My contact information is listed below. Next, you'll see a program lineup, as we will begin with a land acknowledgement and an opening reflection, followed by some information about our organization for any new folks in the room. Then you'll get a chance to meet our wonderful speakers, hear their presentations, followed by some Q&A, and then we'll close with a prayer. And now I would like to take a moment to acknowledge this land and show gratitude for upon which the land we live and local waters that support us all. So please join me while muted, as today we hold space for reflection on and gratitude for the land upon which we live and the local waters that support and nourish us all. We recognize that this land and these waters were beloved by many who came before. We reflect together as people of faith in response to the calling of our hearts to come alongside the original stewards of this land and these waters that sustain us all. We seek to change the narrative of this story, our story, towards one of harmony with the gifts of creation and all living beings. We ask you to honor and learn from their intimate connection, love, and appreciation of these sacred lands and waters. And there'll be a link following that you can learn a little bit more. We encourage you to find out more about the land on which you currently stand. Just keep in mind, it's a snapshot of the past 15,000 years where we know there's much more Indigenous history here. And thanks so much, Rebecca. Here's our reflection to open up tonight's program as we're heading into fall. I love this prayer. It's a wonderful autumn prayer. God of all seasons, we thank you for autumn. We thank you for the touch of coolness in the air that gives us a new burst of energy, for the coloring of the trees that shows the creativity of the divine artist, for the falling leaves that reveal the strength of the branches, for the hues of the fields that bring peace to our souls, for the smiles on pumpkins that bring joy to children, for the fall harvest that brings us gratitude for the bounty of our land, for this change of seasons that reveals the circle of life. God of all seasons, as you transform the earth, transform us by your spirit. Amen. So thank you so much for taking that moment of reflection. Next, we're going to shift gears and just talk a little bit about our organization for new folks in the room. And we couldn't do any of this work without our wonderful partners and funders, as you can see on this slide. And next, we just want to give you a little bit more of a picture as to what IPC does with congregations as we act as a connector organization between environmental partners and local governments and faith communities. And next, if you want to find out more, we have a wonderful map here as we're all connected. I mentioned that in the beginning. We're all part of the Bay, and so the Chesapeake Bay watershed is very large, and it's very important to all of us. And so we just want to emphasize that your backyard is connected, right? So what happens on your street or in your yard flows downstream. So simple changes at your home and places of worship can contribute to the bay's restoration and can lead to significant improvement in water quality. And so if you want to know who's already doing some of this work, on the next slide, you'll see some congregations that have partnered with us already. There's a wonderful map that you'll see right here of folks that have joined the One Water Partnership. Next, we want to make mention as we have our Faithful Green Leaders training coming up this next month in October. This will be the last one for 2025. So for any green teams in the room tonight or looking to enhance their skills, please register and join us next month. And last but not least, if you don't know where to start, we have a lot of wonderful resources from action kits to prayers and liturgical service sources and events, things that you can join in. So please check us out. And so before we delve into tonight's topic, and I welcome our esteemed speaker, who's going to have the floor in just a moment. She's going to be sharing her extensive knowledge on native plants and the importance of native plant gardens. But we just wanted to make mention that there are many county level programs throughout Maryland that offer assistance and funding for practices such as meadow installations, right? Like in the title of our learning lab. And we just wanted to mention that places like Hartford County also has these type of programs for stream restoration efforts, and Anne Arundel County that offer kits. So if you're interested in restoring larger amounts of land to support community greening, please reach out to one of our regional coordinators for some more information. As both larger and smaller native plant installations not only help pollinators, local wildlife, increase biodiversity, but are paramount to tonight's discussion, especially in the light of recent news, for their ability to help clean water through their deep root systems, reducing runoff to our rivers, lakes, and beloved bay. But I don't want to waste any more time because Naomi Edelson is going to share much more of that information with you tonight. She is a extremely valued partner to IPC. I've had the privilege to work closely with her and with some of the congregations that are in this room tonight with the Sacred Grounds Program, which is an initiative from the National Wildlife Federation and supported by other partner organizations like our dear friends at Interfaith Power and Light. She's the Senior Director of Wildlife Partnerships at National Wildlife Federation, and she's such an inspirational leader in the conservation community. I'm very passionate about native plants. So everyone, please give Naomi a warm welcome.
Everybody, so glad to be with you tonight. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Rebecca, Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake. Really appreciate this opportunity to partner with you and share all this great information tonight. So thank you. As Sarah said, I'm Naomi Edelson. I'm a Senior Director of Wildlife Partnerships for the National Wildlife Federation. I work actually in DC out of our National Advocacy Center. I do a lot of advocacy, but this program has been, oh, that's even, look at that. Sorry. This program has been near and dear to me, and I'll tell you the origin story as we go along. I am a wildlife biologist. I specialized in studying herons and other birds in wetlands, but I know a lot about other plants and animals and care about them all, although I do have my favorites. Okay, so I am going to share with you a presentation, and you can put questions in the chat as we go. I'll try to Sarah and Anna maybe can help answer some of them. And we'll also hopefully have some time at the end after Mark talks about from the Grace Episcopal Church, who's one of our participating congregations. We'll have time for question and answers. But go ahead as you have questions and put them in the chat so we can see them while you remember them. Okay, hang on a second. Okay. So, uh, sacred grounds, and tonight we're going to talk about a new initiative called Growing Joy. But Sacred Grounds is ultimately a program for the faith community, houses of worship, however you describe yourself, religious congregation. We use the word congregation to describe an entity like yours. This program is about caring for creation, and it's about the basic concept of planting native plants to help people and wildlife. The National Wildlife Federation has actually been doing this for a very long time, since 1973. There's a growing native plant movement, which we're thrilled about, and we have a long history in it. Our program, we have a larger program called Garden for Wildlife, and it's about helping people plant native plants where they live, work, play, learn, and most recently, about 10, 12 years ago, worship. And Sacred Grounds is really this simple concept of focusing on greening the outside of your grounds. There's been a lot of programs focused on energy efficiency and helping green the inside of congregations, which is very, very important. But we all know it goes beyond that, and that most congregations have grounds that are bigger than a typical home, and they have big parking lots and they have big roofs, and there's a lot of opportunity to both address some problems that congregations create, and most importantly, really be part of an important solution. And we know all faiths have a connection with this concept of stewardship of the earth. Some call it caring for creation, others have a different name for it, but all faiths have it. And here's an example well known in the United States is St. Francis, who, with a Catholic faith, really nurtured the concept of caring for the animals. And he was a very special man who you can see here has pictures of birds and trees all around him. But as I said, it's all faiths, and we've been working with so many different faiths. Not every faith, we'd love to work with every faith, but many, and they all have some connection, some statements. Many of them have many, many texts which are tied to caring for the earth. And as I talked about St. Francis, but as the late Pope Francis said, it's our common shared earth, which I think is a really brilliant way to describe it. I'm Jewish, and for me, one of the statements that really speaks to me is the statement of choosing life, that you and your children may live. And one of the main points that's a central part of Judaism is choosing life. And right now, every choice we make for the earth is about choosing life. What we plant in our yards is a matter of choosing life. And here's a picture of my synagogue. It's a Dot Shalom Reconstructionist congregation over by Glen Echo on the Potomac River. And here's a picture of a garden we created at a Dot Shalom. There's my son when he was very young and would do things with me. So now, if I was in a room with you, I would ask you, what is a native plant? So I'm just going to share it and make sure everyone understands what it is, because there's a little bit of confusion about that. So a native plant is really the indigenous plants of wherever you are. There are indigenous plants for Maryland. There are indigenous plants for Arizona. There are indigenous plants for Malaysia, for Kenya. They're like, Bulgaria. They're all over. Wherever you are, you will have those indigenous plants that thrive in that particular climate and soil. Now, what's really important about this is that these native plants and native wildlife have grown up together. They rely on each other for survival. And that's going to be a central point that we share. Sacred Grounds does many things. It is ultimately, as a wildlife organization, about creating wildlife habitat and beautifying your grounds in a sustainable way. But it really is also about cleaning our waterways, our rivers and streams. It's about preparing and coping with climate change, and we'll talk a little more about that. And it's a very easy and important way to put your faith into practice, the idea of caring for creation. And it should save you, as wherever you live, your home, and your congregation money through low-cost landscaping. Maybe not initially, but eventually. This is the Anacostia River. And as many, we are so lucky in our area. While we've been through a really dry period. Some of you probably got some of the rain today and we're grateful. I was hoping, praying for that rain. It passed over my house. It said it was raining on the app. It was amazing. It said 2 apps said it was raining, but it did not rain over my yard. But we are lucky. We have so much water in our region when we have really beautiful rivers like the Anacostia. And as Sarah showed, our rivers all flow into the Chesapeake Bay. Now, one of the problems in the Chesapeake Bay, many people understand some of the problems with the agriculture runoff is a source of extra nutrient pollution, fertilizers, and so on into the bay. But another really big piece of this is really us who live in more urban suburban areas, and it's called storm water. When we have these big rains, it used to be that they would hit the trees, slow down, hit the shrubs, slow down, hit the understory plants, and then go through the soil, filtering and slowing the flow of. But now we have in many of our areas, we have a lot of asphalt and a lot of roofs and things that are impervious, and the water runs off quickly, doesn't have a chance to get filtered, and goes right into our stormwater system, which doesn't get treated. It goes, for the most part, it doesn't get treated, it goes right into our rivers. Here's an example in the east of the river in Washington, D.C. Many of you, I'm sure, have examples of flooding. We had some really severe flooding very recently, right down the street from me. And in fact, they had to rescue somebody. I live in Tacoma Park, and they had to rescue somebody. And it's really, pretty surprising, but we're having these flash floods that are coming up. And here's a church we work with. I think I saw Rosa, who's with this church, on the call. And here's a church we worked with in east of the river, and they were having flooding coming off their parking lot and really eroding this beautiful old oak tree and going into their sanctuary. We'll share with you later an example of how they solved the problem by helping plant native plants. Now, stormwater is a real problem. It's not just the intensity and the velocity of the water, but it's also polluted. And you can see an example here, and I'm sure many of you have seen that. And if you go down to Nats Park, you can see there's a barrier set up in one section, and it shows how much pollution comes through our waterway. And this is the bigger pollution, not the microscopic stuff that you can't even see. But this is a bigger one. It's very dramatic. We don't realize it because we don't have these barriers set up, but there's a lot. And these creeks, though, the good part is, which is why our local governments have really leaned in, they have been able to repair a lot of them. Some of them, like I live right down the street from Sligo Creek, which runs through Montgomery County, Prince George's County, before running at the Northwest Branch and the Anacostia River. It was once so terribly eroded, and they went in using our money, our taxpayer dollars, and they restored it. And they slowed the flow by putting in these little like barriers of rocks like that. And the fish have responded. They've dramatically increased. They're not like up to the 50 species they once were, but they went from 3 different kinds to now 16. And it shows the public investment matters. Like if we put an effort in, we can get a return on that investment. But there's much more to do. And one of the ways we can help is by helping address it through our own homes. Now, most of us don't have a home like this, but turns out that lawns are like concrete. They have very shallow roots, and they cause a lot of the stormwater runoff. Here's a slide where if you look at the example of turf, fescue turf, which is what most of us have in our yard, they have very minimal roots. You can dig it up and see there's hardly anything there. But if you plant natives, mostly, not always, they have more deeper roots and more extensive roots. And that really helps with the soil erosion and helps hold the water and deal with the pollutants. And in our region, Prince George's and Montgomery County and the District of Columbia as well. They're the primary ones. They have rebate programs to get you to remove your lawn and put in native plant gardens. And they'll give you up to $20,000 for a congregation or $7,500 for a home. It's a rebate. You have to put the money up and get it back, but it's the best in the nation. Now, there are some of the other regions that some of you I see are represented that also have programs, not as big as this, but still something. And so native plants are important because they really support all the wildlife we want to see, the birds, the bees, the butterflies. And many of you are probably familiar that a lot of those species are in trouble. The monarch is probably going to be listed as threatened or endangered over the next few months, or it will be proposed to be listed. It's in severe decline. Actually, yesterday was the anniversary of the passenger pigeon. This is a bird that used to darken our skies, and it was so abundant. It was the most common bird, and it went extinct, just like the monarch. It was once very abundant, and even really abundant animals can be lost. We've lost many of our birds, and lawns are food deserts for wildlife. They have no value for wildlife. And Dr. Doug Tallamy, an insect biologist in the University of Delaware, has been pioneering this idea of bringing nature home, and that we can actually create our own little park, our own little, some people walk by my yard and they say, oh, you have a wilderness area. It's a little tiny little garden and they call it wilderness. But, that's that idea that we can create that in our own homes. And that he shares pictures of these beautiful caterpillars. We think of the beautiful butterflies, but if you ever get to really look at some of these caterpillars, they're gorgeous in their own self. But what's important that he has helped share is that they are food for wildlife. So we think when we feed the birds, we're doing a lot of good things, but it turns out really that what they need during their critical periods of raising young and migration, birds are migrating now, they need caterpillars as their protein, and that's one of their most important food sources, along with other wildlife. And that chickadees need up to 9,000 caterpillars in just a very short 3-week period that they raise their young. It's quite amazing. So what's very important about all of this is that 90% of these insects that eat plants can only eat specific plants. They've grown up together, they've co-evolved. And so the native insects need the native plants, and the native birds need the insects that need the plants. It's the food, the web of life. And if these plants are absent, so will be the bird food that they produce. And here's just some simple data to show you the difference between native and non-native. Like a white oak tree had 233 caterpillars compared to a burning bush, which only had 2 on one particular day. And some of these native plants are ones we're used to, like a dogwood, right? Beautiful plant. A lot of people love them. Red buds, native. Those are both native. Those are great options. And here's an example of a beautiful native plant called the blazing star, which, again, you can get beautiful wildlife. We have over 150 species of butterflies in Maryland. And we have over 400 species of native bees. Now, everyone's all alarmed about the honeybees, but those honeybees are not native. They're actually not the ones that pollinate most of our native plants, and even don't they provide help with pollinating some of our crops, but so do the native bees. We have over 400, and we can create this oasis with these native plants for people and wildlife. We have usually used the criteria of what we have been taught to think of as beautiful, and what to put up for privacy screens and so on to pick our plants when we go to a nursery. But instead, what if we chose how much value they have for pollinators, how much they help clean the rivers by slowing the flow of water, how much they stored our carbon pollution, which is our gas emissions, how much they can store that in their bodies, their plant bodies. Probably not the right technical term. But what if we did that instead? We could really help the earth and ourselves. Now, container gardens are also very important. I want to make that clear. Like if you don't have a lot of space, but you can put a container garden on your balcony or on your front stoop, they can really help. Remember, these bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, they fly. They can go places that like a squirrel won't, which you don't have to compete. And it all adds up. Your small lawn, really, together, when all of us do this, or many of us do this, can really make a difference. It's hard to believe you put a little bit out there and it will matter, but it does. It really does. And we have data and we'll share with you to show you. So if you want to do one thing, you can do this at home. You can do this and you can you can be an ambassador for wildlife. The National Wildlife Federation has a program. You can follow and get certified as a wildlife habitat. You could do this with your congregation, no matter where you are. Go to this site and you follow it. It has an application form and you can get certified. You have to pay a $25 fee, which helps support us as staff to help promote and encourage people to do this. It's not a moneymaker for us, let me tell you, but it does help pay for some of the time that we put out to do this. And if you pay a little more, you can get a beautiful sign to put outside and tell everybody why you're doing this and be an ambassador. So Sacred Grounds is a different program. Sacred Grounds is the program where you do it as a congregation. And you can do both if you want. So Sacred Grounds, I'm going to run through what that is now and then talk about what Growing Joy is specifically. Sacred Grounds is about creating wildlife habitat. It's about connecting faith and the environment. And it's about getting your congregation members involved, engaging your congregation. We started it, as I said, my rabbi actually had this idea. He's like, why don't you expand this program you have for houses of worship? And we were just like, wow, how could we have not thought about that? But we had. The environmental movement can be very secular, and it was just not a thought. So we started right away with 2 churches and a synagogue. And we learned a lot. Here's Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, who did a lot of great work educating their young people. And they're going to join us again in another effort. And East Washington Heights Baptist Church, which has had a beautiful garden and done a lot to educate their members, giving away tons of native plants and doing native plant garden tours. Those were our first 3. Now we work in multi-faith cohorts. Here's a church in Laurel and a synagogue and a mosque, all within a mile of each other, work together on the same time frame to do this Sacred Grounds program with us. We have many other multi-faith cohorts. Now we give them names. You might see some Black-Eyed Susan congregation. We're working with all different kinds of faiths, as I said. And we have another one called Tree of Life, mixture of congregations. And we just started a new one called Astor. And this is focused in Prince George's County. We're actually looking for one more. If you're a member of a Prince George's County congregation and you're ready to go, we'd love to have you consider joining us. This will be a 1-year program. Our partners are, this is not just National Wildlife Federation. We work very closely with Interfaith Power and Light, Defensoras de la Cuenca, Friends of Sligo Creek, Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake, who's hosting this tonight. And you can see Sarah and Anna among our other partners in this picture. So Growing Joy is the new program we're starting. You would be joining a new effort, which we're very excited. and it would run for a year. It'll start in October and go through either July if you're in DC or September if you're in Prince George's or Montgomery County. It's a 3-step program. It is just for these 3 counties, but everything I'm going to describe is something any congregation can do anywhere and still be part of sacred grounds. It is funded by the Chesapeake Bay Trust by these 3 different programs, which are basically the government programs in Montgomery County, Prince George's, and Washington, D.C., which is why it's limited only to those congregations in those areas now, because that's where our funding comes from. But your congregation can do this on its own, and we have a website and a toolkit, and we are available to provide some help too. Now, we're going to do a 3-step program under Growing Joy, and each step that I talk about, again, will apply to how you could do this on your own or use our guide on the Sacred Grounds website. So this Growing Joy, though, is going to be the first step is going to be a 1-afternoon workshop coming up in October, and we're going to talk a lot more. I'll show you the agenda about learning and exploring the benefits of native plants. It's going to be at 3 different congregation sites, 1 in each of the jurisdictions. And you ideally would go to the one that you live in, but you also could go to another one if you can't make it that date. We're going to talk a lot about much more detail about becoming a sacred grounds. We're going to have case studies where different congregations share their experience. We're going to hear about, it says starting a sacred grounds green team, which IPC will lead. We're going to tour their grounds and see some examples of some great things they've done to green their grounds. And then after that, you can choose to sign up for step 2. Step 2 is engaging your congregation members. And this is about inspiration and action and leadership training to help you do things with your congregation. And it's based on a whole theory around behavior change. And we work with a PhD expert on that. It's community-based social marketing. And it's about not just educating people, but getting them to actually do something, which is our name of our game. And we're going to do a whole presentation for every congregation can join about why plant native plants, so all your members could come. We're going to do a how to garden with native plants virtual workshop that all your members who want to join can come. And we're going to importantly give you free starter kits of plants to give away to your members to have them try out planting native plants. We know that's one of the barriers. And so we will do a native plant pickup day. Each congregation that joins, step 2, would do this. They would be able to give away native plants to their members. Now, if you're not in one of these counties, you can still do it. There are places to get low-cost native plants, and I'll show you some information about that. And you could do this. You could really, for a few $100s, you can do this at your own congregation. And, we give every, don't use this now. We give every congregation a link. And they would go to this site and they'll pledge. Every member would be given an opportunity to pledge to plant native plants. Making a commitment leads to people taking action. If you pledge, and you'd go to this drop-down menu, you can see some of the churches on here and synagogues, and you would have your congregation on there, and they'd make that pledge, and then the people who pledge get the free plants. And it's a really fun community building educational event that the congregations have loved. And there's even people have lines sometimes, even you can create a festival feeling of it. You can create displays and share more information. People come rain or shine. This church has done it like 5 years in a row. He said it's rained every single time, but everybody comes anyway. They want to get those plants. And it's just a chance for your congregation to give something back to your members and really have them have fun learning about native plants. And the clergy like it. These are some of the plants we give away. And we give away little small baby plants that are called plugs. And you can buy those yourself. You can buy them from a couple of companies. They will ship them right to your congregation or your home. And we give out a kit of 3 of the same plant to each person because they should plant them in a group. And we give information, and we've given away, now we're higher than this, more than 12,000 native plants have been given to thousands of homes in our Washington, D.C. area. We also are going to be leading some garden tours to show people what it's like, how beautiful they are. We've done boat tours. We found out people don't really know a lot about the rivers. And then the third step, each step, if you're in those jurisdictions, you can choose to opt in to each step. You don't have to commit to all 3. You can right at the bat, but you can also opt in as we go along. Step 3 is about creating the congregation garden. And that's going to be in person again at congregations. You will hear more about what they did. We'll show you how to create a design and a planting list and how to apply for those financial resources. The gardens have been a delight and a big highlight for congregations. Here's a congregation pointing to a milkweed plant where the little baby monarch caterpillar is actually on. So they got results. Here's another beautiful garden. It's a fun community building day again. People are happy. People love to garden. It's a huge pastime, and you can do a blessing of the garden and really connect your faith in the environment. And it is something that people will show up for. You'll get volunteers. People will come. Kids love to do it. Then their parents come, and you need the help. You have to put this in yourself. Just to start to wrap up, this particular church is the one I showed in the beginning, which had the flooding problem. They put in this garden, and the city also helped them do a lot more. A different garden and put in a cistern and trees. They got all this free stuff, and that stopped the flooding. Another church we worked with in Silver Spring was the water was flowing right down into that very polluted Sligo Creek that I mentioned, and they ripped up their asphalt and they put in a native plant garden. And this mosque we worked with was having flooding going into their neighbor's yard, which was a source of tension. They wanted to be a good neighbor, and so they put in their native plant garden right at the base of their parking lot where it was flooding down to, and that stopped the flooding into their neighbor's yard. So it can really do good. And those insects and birds we talked about, we had a wildlife biologist, ecologist, who's actually, I think she just joined the call. She's on it. She went out to all the gardens and she looked at them, right? She found that we looked at what was it like when it was just a lawn. It was 11 different kinds of insects and only 37. And then when we put in the native plants, it went from 11 to 75 different kinds of insects and more than 750 individuals. Very dramatic. You know that famous line, if you build it, they will come. And we did surveys of people. We do that, and we found out that people said the plants are growing, and 94% of them want to keep planting more. And, they want to actually rip up their lawn and put in native plants, really high numbers. And they want to even take advantage of those county municipal rebates. And it's really, people learn and want to take action, and they love sacred grounds. Just want to tell you that. It's been a very positive, rewarding, joyful experience, which is why we call this Growing Joy. Here's a link to Sacred Grounds where you can self-designate, self-certify, and you can get the guide. And again, these are the 3 simple steps you can take. And we do have a guide and a lot of information. The one I didn't cover was like connecting faith in the environment. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can have a sermon about caring for creation. You can do something with your religious education program. You can use the garden. You can do a blessing of the garden. And there's all kinds of ways you can connect the environment and your faith. So just to go back to the beginning, what we do for the earth is helping us all really stay alive. And it is choosing life for us and for wildlife. It's climate resilience, caring for your community. People love our rivers and lakes. They want to help the environment. We know that from polling after polling. They don't always know how. Here is a program where we can make sure we're leaving a good earth for the next generation. And I am going to stop here. And we hope you will, two more. We hope you will join us. And if you're in one of these three areas, there's a link at the bottom where you can register, and I think it'll be put in the chat. So I'm sorry, it is just for if you have to, your congregation has to be in one of those three areas. If you are not, you can do it online yourself. But we hope to get more money and then we can make it available. But this is one of the ways we're testing that out. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you very, very much. Thank you to Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake for giving us this chance to share this project with you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. It's so important for folks to hear about the benefits of native plants, especially their ability to help mitigate stormwater runoff. I'm grateful that you emphasize that, how much it helps out our pollinator friends. And as well as the last couple slides emphasizing that, this work is really living out our faith through creation care. And I just wanted to say it's truly been a blessing working with you and the congregations in this program. And it is a wonderful program. So, as Naomi mentioned, there are specific resources for these counties. We did put the link in the chat. If we're encouraging, if you're in that area, come to the in-person workshops. And there's also additional resources that we're going to follow up. There's ways you can certify your yard and house of worship if you're not in those regions. And we have resources on how you can do that on your own. And we're going to be putting all that in the chat and in the post follow-up recording. So thank you again. And we have one more friend with us this evening. Mark Petronella has actually been such a wonderful partner to IPC. He's a member, one of the Green Team members at Grace Episcopal Church in Silver Spring. And I'm looking for him right now.
Hey there.
So I can put the spotlight. Perfect, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. We just wanted to mention you guys have an amazing green team. It's a beautiful garden that's right at the entrance to your congregation. And we wanted to give you some time to share that experience with everyone about the Sacred Grounds program. And again, thank you for being such a wonderful partner. Everyone, please welcome Mark.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I can definitely say that the garden has been a huge hit. So I'm happy to join and talk a little bit about it. It's been a great conversation piece from folks in the community coming in and asking about it when it first came in, and then seeing the plants grow and start to flower. In particular, it's been great with our youth groups who are super interested in how this contributes to solving local environmental issues. So it's been a really great add to the congregation. It's also been a really great source of community. Our team did a really wonderful job of raising awareness of the upcoming event in terms of the actual planting and ensuing care. So folks came in for one weekend and we spent the day planting and got to know each other. So it was a really great opportunity to chat with folks who, I'd been going to church with, but hadn't gotten a chance to meet. And we had a great turnout, and we've had good survival with the plants we've got. We've lost some along the way, but are replanting. And I would say that there's definitely been a lot of enthusiasm among parishioners to emulate this in their own homes. And as part of the program, we got native plants to plant at home. Butterfly milkweed has managed to stay alive through the dry summer, so that's been great. And speaking for myself, I definitely want to continue ripping off and planting more native plants, especially seeing the impact that we've seen Grace with more butterflies being seen and a more productive use of our area. So we're really excited about the program, very grateful to Sarah and all the folks on who've supported us through this process.
one tree in one day compared to Bradford pear, which is a very commonly planted tree for our area. Only have one caterpillar.
Thank you so much, Mark. And it seems like someone is unmuted. If you could please mute. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mark. I'm really grateful again for just your partnership, all the hard work that you all do. I can't wait to come by and see the garden after some of this rain. I'm sure it looks wonderful. And thank you again for joining. It's really hard to believe that this hour has almost flown by. I think it's a great time, to open up the floor for Q&A, unless I apologize if I'm cutting you short, Mark.
No, not at all. I'm happy to answer any questions from folks who want to hear about our experience. But all in all, we're just very grateful to have been selected for the program.
Thank you so much. And we are too. And there are a couple questions in the chat. I'm grateful to IPC staff that are here tonight that have, went ahead and answered some of those. But let's just open the floor. And if you don't mind, Rebecca, if you could please stop sharing for a moment. I'm just going to pull out one or two that have not been answered in the chat, and just so we can get a chance to see everyone's face. And while I'm looking through this chat, if anyone has a question right now while I'm looking through, please feel free to unmute. This is now the time to unmute or raise your hand, and please feel free to ask Naomi and Mark any questions about tonight's program and this wonderful initiative.
I was looking through some of the questions, and we did try to answer some of them. But I know Jerry was wondering, he wanted some clarification about, whether the Growing Joy is an effort to only get congregational members to plant new natives at their homes and not so much for the congregation grounds. And I guess, Naomi, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's to plant both on the congregation grounds as well as at home.
Yeah, there's 3 steps. So you can come just to step 1 and then proceed to step 2 and step 3. You can also just do step 2. We really want everyone to come to step 1, but we'll learn a lot more and then be ready to take on, if you want, step that engaging your congregation members or the garden. You don't have to do both. You can choose to do one or both. It's up to you. So if you just want to do the garden, you can do that. If you want to just engage your members, you can do that.
Okay. And there was a follow-up about the grants. Do the congregational grants include funding to remove invasives other than lawns?
Right. We have not that. No, the answer is, you mean to,
No.
and we're focused on removing the lawns. There are congregations we've been working with that have a lot of invasives. And as you probably know, that's a lot of manual labor. And the idea is if you can educate and inspire the congregation members, then you'll have some volunteer labor to do it.
And not to put a shameless plug, but just for the folks that are joining us tonight, we are currently working feverishly on an invasive plant removal action kit. So that will be a great resource for congregations, and it will be by region, and then just some easy, just like a walkthrough guide on how to identify. So one of the wonderful things about the Sacred Ground program that I'll just make mention, KitGauge does an excellent job of kind of segregating all the plants by species. And so it's very easy once the gardens are installed to identify what goes where. But yes, we'll follow up with an invasive species action kit that will be coming out before the end of the year. That will be a good resource to address that, because we do know a lot of congregations have questions about that. And I do see Leslie has your hand up. Please feel free to unmute, Leslie.
Hi, thank you. There's kind of a follow-up on that question, or the reverse or something. My particular congregation, which is Bethesda Friends Meeting, is located on the grounds of Sidwell Friends School. So we don't have control over the grounds, but we have a lot of people who have interest in doing this at home or in spreading the word. So I was trying to listen for what I might bring back to our Quaker meeting about resources and opportunities to learn sort of as a congregation, but not that doesn't have land on which to do things collectively, if you follow.
Oh yeah, and sorry to put you on the spot, Naomi, but I mean, we definitely want to encourage you to come to the in-person workshop. I think that would be great. As Naomi mentioned, there's different phases. So maybe you would be more interested in the educational piece. But yeah, Naomi, do you have any other clarification for congregations that still want to be involved, but might not have land to do it?
Well, you could do the giving the plants away part, like that's what makes this beautiful. You don't have to do it. Or you could put in, especially now there's all these sales on cedar box. I don't know what, if you have even like a parking lot or whatever, like a place you meet, but or like I was saying, you could create a container garden. But you can definitely do the getting
The
people
giving plants away would be wonderful. We can't put anything on Sidwell's grounds,
Right.
and they do a lot of stuff around.
That's right. They do. So you can give the plants away. People love it. It's so much fun and it makes a difference.
They are a lot of
We'd
fun.
love to
So
have you join.
yes, and we will make sure to put the invites to those workshops again in the post follow-up along with the resources. And we encourage you to come, and please feel free to share with others. It would be great to have other members come join you. And I'm just kind of going through to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Oops, sorry, I just saw a hand. Wait, Patricia.
So one of the complexities I find in listening to this, and some other members of my congregation have attended some of the other webinars, but it seems like in engaging a congregation, you've got to have this formal relationship. And here we are in September talking about a program that's starting in October. So my question is, what infrastructure, what kind of backing from our congregation would we need before starting? Or can we start this kind of as a grassroots thing?
Started
That's a
as
great
a
question.
grassroots. Yes, you can start it as a grassroots thing, and you can come to these first workshops, which are these, 4-hour, 3-hour days. And then you would come. In fact, I think what we'll do is at that workshop, give people, you're helping me, thank you, give you like something you can bring back to your board or your clergy to get final approval. I mean, we're not going to do anything where you're going to encourage congregation members to join virtual presentations. You're going to give plants away, or if you do the garden, that won't be until late next spring. But
Okay.
you would need to get the ground prepared starting sometime in the winter. So you don't really need to have permission to do a lot yet. But yes, it can start grassroots. I think it's fine. Just come to the workshop and get tons of information and go back and make your case.
Okay. All
There
right, that's
are-
very helpful because we have a kind of a nascent green team. And
great.
so this came up as an opportunity, but at the same time, it seemed like, oh, well, maybe we were out of sync with where we needed to be and we needed to wait a year or something.
No. Okay, that's great. Yes, and if you have okay, there's 2 people with raised hands. Mary Ann,
Um,
I don't know if you see that,
two
Sarah. Mary
things,
Ann
two
and
things
Rebecca.
actually. Patricia, I started out in the spring taking, might have even been the fall, taking the Green Team Leaders Training. And that helped me prepare myself to go to the president of the board to let him know what we were planning. Fortunately, our congregation was really happy to have somebody organize some environmental care things. So I just want to throw that out to you, that the workshops were very helpful. And I took mine before I had even gotten approval. So you're not out of sync.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
grateful for that note, Marianne. Thank you so much for mentioning that the Faithful Green Leaders training helped kickstart that. Thank you so much.
Got one more thing.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
sir. No.
Leslie, I'm curious because it seems like Sidwell could be a fantastic opportunity for education and for getting the students interested and involved with the native plants and doing more things. That's just an observation on my part.
They are very, I mean, they don't need us to
Oh, okay.
encourage them. They do a great deal, as I think someone mentioned. Yeah, they're very involved at that level. So,
But it seems like an opportunity for a partnership.
yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And Rebecca, please, go
So
ahead.
there were two questions in the chat that I just wanted to raise. So St. James's Parish in Southern Maryland has 50 acres of farmland that's currently in crops. And they're wondering, okay, so what's the benefit of rewilding that? And what's the process, in that large context? And kind of what are the recommendation or resources? And the other question was, if someone has a yard and they're enthusiastic vegetable and fruit grower, how do you balance that with trying to provide for native plants?
Thanks for catching those, Rebecca. And I did appreciate your response. I'm grateful that you said it's neither, you can or can't do it. Naomi, do you have any best practices or recommendations for someone who is a avid fruit vegetable grower, how to incorporate native plants? And then the 50 acres. We really want to connect with that individual and see how we can help.
I mean, if somebody put in the chat, I don't know if that it's yes, if you plant native plants, particularly ones that are particularly good for bees, and we have that list. I will share, IPC is gonna help share some resources, and we have a list of the best native plants. They're called keystone native plants, best for caterpillars and the best for bees. And if you plant those plants, you'll have more pollinators, which it helps your garden. So it isn't one or the other. I don't know, when I was growing up, everybody planted marigolds as they thought that helped. But let's plant native plants and put asters and goldenrods in and things like that, that really will help support the native bees, which will help the agriculture. And, these bees can fly very far, so they don't have to be next to each other. They can just be somewhere on the property. That's fine. And that will be good. For the 50-acre site, there's look, I don't know what's happening right now with the federal government and these conservation assistance programs. There's a lot of them that are maybe being taken away. There's a lot happening. So there are lots of different programs. I don't know of one myself that actually goes cropland. There are cropland programs where if you plant native plants, but then also plant crops. But I don't know of one that just goes from crops to only native plants. But if you have crops and put in cover crops and then also native plants, there are programs of the Department of Agriculture under what's called the Conservation Reserve Program. And there also are state programs, but I'm not really that.
There's tree ones.
There's trees.
There's definitely tree ones. Yeah, like the Maryland DNR and the Forest Service.
Yes, well, you can get
absolutely.
You can get hundreds of free trees if you want to go from crops to trees. They'll come and help you plant them. There are tons. There's more free trees. Nobody should pay for a tree. Nobody should pay for a tree. There's so many good tree programs right now, and Interfaith Partners, the Chesapeake helps partner with the Maryland DNR and us, and we do encourage trees. And we have a new program called Tree of Life, which is also about planting under the trees to help with it's a whole story there, which I can tell you sometime. So there's lots of great resources, and we will send a follow-up on some of them. But for 50 acres, if you really want to do something, you should hire probably get a consultant to help you talk to you, but you could have a big meadow and mow it every year. That would be fine too. But that's a bigger project than what we're trying to do. But please, I'd love to see you do it.
Yeah, thanks Naomi for plugging our Trees for Sacred Places program. Joseph, I'm going to connect you with the regional coordinator in your area, and then we'll see how we can support that, because we would love to help you in any way we can. Again, I cannot believe the hours are upon us. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If it's all right, Rebecca, could we just share our closing slides as we do with every program? I'm just going to close with a reflection, and if there are any additional questions, if our speakers are so gracious to maybe stay on for 1 or 2 more minutes. Also, thank you, Rebecca. I'll put this link in the chat right now while we still have most of our folks. We want you to give us a little bit of your feedback and tell us what you thought about the program. So please take a moment to fill out the survey. And again, it's appropriate with fall right upon us. Some of us might be blessed to see the changing of the leaves already. I'm excited for this. I think I'm going to go out to Skyline Drive for the first time, even though I've lived in the area my whole life, to capture. And I thought this picture really just illustrated the beauty of the trees so far. So this is just a nice reflective poem. I think that I should never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's been such a blessing to see, again, so many familiar and new faces. So yeah, I want to close the program. Please feel free to leave for the evening. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. But if there are any last minute questions, yeah, if our speakers are so gracious to hang on maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but it looks like everyone's filing out. Oh, I'm sorry. There is one question.
And one clarification right before we go to that question. There was a question about the workshops and whether or not any of them will be available on Sundays. And yes, in Montgomery County, the workshop will be held at Day Spring Retreat Center on Sunday, October 5. So just stay tuned. Well, the links have been shared, so you could just pick that one and attend that one.
Sunday,
Thank you so much,
October,
Amy.
you said-
October 5.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Ramadi, please unmute and ask your question.
Yes, first of all, thank you for the great presentation. It was very informative. This was the first time I was attending this kind of session, and it was wealth of knowledge. I have 2 questions. The first one is, I would like to attend the workshop and would also like to bring some, young members, like they would be high school students. So first of all, is it okay if we bring them? And second, if they come, do they get SSL hours for the duration of the workshop, that or the work that we would go back and do? So would that qualify for SSL hours?
Definitely have high school students come. There's been a lot of projects that have been led by Eagle Scouts and others, and I do think that's a great idea. They can be a great help in running the program back at your congregation. So that's true. SSL hours, I don't know what IPC has done, but usually our partner Interfaith Power and Light has helped provide SSL hours. I don't know the answer about attending workshops. I'm sorry. We can find out, but I don't know myself.
Yes. And one more request. I would like to share this whole presentation with my congregation members. So if you can possibly share the deck with me, I can use a few of the slides and pass the information to our members. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, we will. Thank you for registering. So for registering for this event, you will automatically receive a recording of this and all the resources that will go along with this a week from now. So yeah, we'll post it and then we will send it out to everyone that joined us this evening. Thanks so much for your questions.
Thank you.
Ramandeep, what congregation are you with and what county, where do you live?
So my congregation is GGSF in Rockville, Travilla Road.
Oh,
And this is the first time we are participating.
great. Okay, yeah, please, let's follow up and talk about it.
Sure.
There's potentially other opportunities too.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself, Ramandeep. What was that congregation again in Rockville?
GGSF, that is a short form. The actual name is, I can post in the chat. Guru
The
Gobind
Guru-
Singh Foundation.
Yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I'm sorry, Marianne, did you have another question before we close?
Yes, it will be answered when I can watch the recording. I had to drop out for an important part of the presentation. What is this workshop that you were talking about that's going to be happening on October 5th?
Yes, that will be at Dayspring, and that is in Montgomery County. And we do have, let me see if actually it might be helpful for the folks that are remaining. Let me put that link where you can sign up and then select the location. Bear with me one moment. I'll put that back in the chat.
Right.
But that will also be sent out in the post recordings, and it'll be very easy to see, you know, when you actually click on the link, there
Yeah.
are the options to join by region. But
Okay.
Marianne, give me 1 second.
Sure.
There's
Everyone.
there's 3 workshops, 3 different ones. You attend only one.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah, for region. We're doing one in Montgomery County, one in Prince George's County, and then there will also be one held in Washington, D.C. So the link that just got put into the chat, that's for the
Okay.
Growing Joy in-person workshops.
Okay. Super. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I hope I got to everyone's question. It doesn't look like I see any more raised hands. But anything that might have gotten missed in the chat will be answered. I'll provide a PDF of the chat that will have answers to questions and additional resources.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining so much.